Stop. Do not scroll. The prayer you prayed this week, the one for a person with no name, for a life you do not know, it has found its address. Heaven was moved. A life was spared. And God sends me here with the receipt for that answered prayer, but also with an urgent message about the war you are still fighting inside your own walls. The first part is sealed. The second part begins now. You are here because you are tired, but not the good kind of tired, not the kind that comes from a hard day's work and finds rest on the pillow. This is a different exhaustion. It's the exhaustion of a soul on high alert, a spirit that stands watch even when the body is lying down. It's the exhaustion that has you wide awake at 3 a.m. with a weight on your chest you can't name, listening to the hum of the refrigerator as if it holds an answer. It's the weariness sleep cannot cure, because it was not your body that labored. It was your spirit fighting battles in the dark that the day pretends not to know. And this exhaustion bleeds into your day. It shows up in the decisions, not the big ones, the small ones, the ones that should be simple, the ones that now feel like walking through concrete. You find yourself frozen, unable to pull the trigger on a choice that a year ago you would have made without a second thought. You see the same pattern, the same mistake you diagnosed and swore you'd conquered, showing up again in a new context with new people, as if it's haunting you. And you make choices not from a place of wisdom, but from the quiet desperation of a deadline, moving a resource in haste because the cost of waiting for clarity felt higher than the cost of being wrong. But the most painful place this shows up is at home. Your wife has learned not to ask how your day was. She doesn't need to. She hears the answer in the way you turn the key in the lock, in the weight of your footsteps on the floor. It is a silence born not of indifference, but of love that has learned to shield itself. Your children have slowly stopped bringing you their small problems, not because they don't trust you, but because they can sense you have no more room. Even your grandchild hesitates, looking in your eyes before asking to be held, trying to discern if she will find her grandfather or a preoccupied giant who is present in body but absent in soul. You come home and unload a war you fought miles away onto the people you love the most, and you don't even realize you're doing it until after the damage is done. If the echo of this silence feels familiar, I need you to do something. This is not for me, this is for you. It is an act of positioning. Go to the comments right now and write 2 words, I am here. It is a declaration that you are present for what God is about to do. Before I continue, I need to tell you exactly what will happen in the next few paragraphs, so you know why staying matters. First, I'm going to show you where you have truly been these last few years, in a way that finally makes God's silence make sense. You will recognize yourself not in generalities, but in the specific details of your own story. Second, within this video, I will deliver to you a single Hebrew word that nobody has ever taught you in church, and when you hear its definition, you will feel the fog over your decisions begin to lift before this message even ends. You receive this right where you are sitting. Third, at the end, I will declare 2 names over you. Not a generic blessing, a specific commission, with names that were registered for you before you knew they were being recorded. I do not promise this will solve every problem by morning, but I promise that if you stay with me until the very end, you will leave here knowing something you did not know before, holding something specific in your hand, and with something declared over you that will remain long after this video is over. If you leave in the middle, you leave without the sealing. The next few minutes are worth more than half a measure. Stay until the end. What you are feeling is the loneliness of a seed in winter. You were planted with purpose by a hand that knew the treasure you carried, but you were planted in a season of hard, frozen ground. There is no external evidence of life. The sky is gray, the air is cold, and you have begun to believe the lie. of the season, that because there is no growth on the surface, there is no life in the root. But you have not been fighting this season badly. You have been fighting it unarmed. You have been trying to break through frozen earth with your bare hands because no one ever told you that the King provides tools for the work he commands. You have mistaken a lack of equipment for a lack of faith. And on this exact topic, on the war for peace inside your own home, on the battle for clarity in your own mind, on ending the cycle of nights where your soul stands guard while your body begs for rest, there is something specific that King Solomon left behind. He recorded a code for the man who must govern his inner world before he can shape his outer one. Hold on to that word, code. I will come back to it when the time is right. But what happens to a seed planted by God in a field that man has forgotten? What happens when the silence has lasted so long you start to mistake it for absence? That is where we are going now. You arrived here because something you did today opened an exception in heaven. The word was given, the decree was issued, and now begins the part most people lose. Because between the word received and the word fulfilled in the common day, there is a gap that the enemy knows better than you do. And it is in this gap that most of God's chosen ones lose what was granted. Not because the decree was revoked, but because they came home on a Monday morning and did not have the instrument to sustain it. King Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived, and that is not a title from a history book. It is a biblical record, signed by God himself. When he had the chance to ask for anything, he didn't ask for riches, for long life, or for the heads of his enemies. He asked for wisdom. And God was so moved by this request that he gave Solomon the wisdom, and then he gave him everything else besides. He judged the dispute of the two mothers when no one else in the kingdom could see the truth. He wrote 3,000 proverbs. He governed Israel at the absolute historical peak of that nation. The Queen of Sheba traveled for months by camel just to test his wisdom, and when she returned, she confessed that not even half of it had been told to her. And Jesus himself, in person, quoted Solomon by name. And he did not take this wisdom to the grave. He left it recorded with a surgical precision that has crossed 3,000 years without losing its edge. He recorded how to stop repeating the same mistake you have already diagnosed, the one that keeps happening in different contexts with different people, as if there is a pattern you cannot break. He recorded how to come home without unloading the weight the world placed on you during the day onto your family, so that your house can finally feel the difference. And it won't need you to be fixed. It will just need you to be present. And he recorded how to walk with the posture of a man who knows, with criteria. So you stop asking for advice from those who are not qualified to give it, stop making decisions in the heat of pain, and stop believing those who sell cheap miracles. I have gathered this into a map called the Solomon Wisdom Code. It is in the first pinned comment right below this video. It is the union of the wisdom of Proverbs with the principles of peaceful restoration, which takes a man out of the state of survival and brings him back to the state of clarity and decision. Solomon wrote it. I have organized it for the common day you are living in right now, for the week that starts tomorrow. Along with the main guide come two instruments I included because without them the map would have a hole. The first is of the ritual of the just man's sleep. It is a 10-minute guided audio to be used right before you go to sleep, anchored in Psalm 4:8. In peace I will both lie down and sleep. For you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. This is not a modern relaxation technique. It is the act of handing over the watch to the one who does not slumber, giving him the weight your soul carried all day. So you can stop standing guard over something that is already being protected. For the man who no longer remembers what it feels like for his mind to shut down when his eyes close. The second is the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees. 5 minutes upon waking, Before the phone, before the coffee, before the world gets a chance to write its agenda on you. 7 decrees spoken in your own voice, drawn from the wisdom of Proverbs, that position your day before your day, positions you. This is not positive affirmation, it is biblical decree in your own voice, establishing the posture of an heir before the calendar, and the pressures of the day try to tell you who you are. To start the day as one who was called, not one who was crushed. And the price. The price is less than a Sunday morning coffee at the church cafe, less than a Saturday lunch combo at Cracker Barrel, less than half a tank of gas to drive to the Sunday service. I set the price there on purpose, not because it is worth little, it is worth what Solomon recorded for 3,000 years. I set it at that price so that the only obstacle between you and this instrument would be your decision to reach out your hand. Not price, not your schedule, not a long drive. Just your hand, moving toward the link. And there is a 7-day, unconditional guarantee. If you open it, use it for a week, and find it does not serve you, you send one email and you will receive a full refund. And here is the part no one else does. You keep the bonus instruments. The ritual of the just man's sleep is yours to keep. The awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees, is yours to keep, even after the refund. This isn't a generous offer. It is the acknowledgement that the risk of trying cannot be yours. The risk is ours. The only risk left for you is the risk of not trying. And the risk of not trying is the risk of leaving here with a decree opened in heaven, only to lose it on Monday morning for lack of an instrument. The next night you lie down with your soul still on high alert is not months away. It is tonight, perhaps in 3 hours. The next morning you wake up already thinking about the bills, the battles, the unresolved conflicts. Starting the day at a disadvantage is tomorrow. Perhaps in 6 hours. The next time your family receives the fallout from the weight the world put on you is tomorrow evening. Every night without the ritual of the just man's sleep is a night your body will pay for. Every morning without the awakening of clarity is a morning the world gets to write on you first. Every day without the Solomon Wisdom Code is a day the house feels it, and you don't even realize they do. The cost of delay is not 0, but do not leave now. The ceiling is not yet complete. What I must show you next is greater than any tool Solomon left behind. It is the Hebrew name for what is happening to you in this exact moment. The name of the exception that was opened in heaven because of what you did this week. And when you hear this name, you will understand why everything up to this point has been preparation for a single word. Stay. There are 4 signs that mark a man who carries a divine calling through a season of silence. These are not punishments, they are measurements. They are the evidence that you have been chosen for a promotion that requires you to be tested in secret before you can be trusted in public. See if you recognize your own reflection in these signs. The first is the sign of unjust fatigue. You go to bed tired and you wake up exhausted. This is not the weariness of a body that has labored in the field. It is the exhaustion of a spirit that has stood watch all night, replaying arguments, dissecting decisions, wrestling with shadows. Your sleep is not rest. It is merely a changing of the guard for your worries. This feeling is not a medical condition. It is the spiritual cost of fighting your battles with your own strength, without the divine strategy for rest. The second is the sign of the family echo. Your wife knows if the day was good or bad before you even speak a word. She reads it in the sound of the key turning in the lock. Her silence is not indifference. It is the armor she has learned to wear to protect her heart from the tremors of your internal war. Your children have stopped bringing you their problems, not because they don't love you, but so they don't add another burden to your back. This distance is not their rejection of you. It is a divine thermometer, showing you the exact temperature of your soul. The third is the sign of the repeated pattern. You look in the mirror and you see the ghost of the same mistake you made last year, the very one you swore to God you would never make again. It shows up with a different face, in a different situation, but it is the same failure. The frustration comes not from ignorance, you know exactly where the trap is, but from a strange powerlessness to turn off the path that leads straight into it. What feels like a lack of willpower is actually the lack of a system, a daily code that governs your choices. If you recognize yourself in even one of these signs, if you feel the weight of this description in your spirit, I want you to make a declaration of faith in the comments right now. Write this sentence: I carry what no one else carries. This is your acknowledgement that this weight is not a curse, but the mark of a calling. These signs are not meant to crush you. They are the pressure that turns coal into a diamond. God has placed you in a chamber of intense pressure, not to see if you will break, but to prove the substance He put inside you from the foundation of the world. Every moment of fatigue, every painful silence at home, every repeated failure is a calibrated application of force, designed to forge an unbreakable identity in you. There is a word in Hebrew that defines exactly what you are carrying. When I tell you what it is, you will never look at this period of your life the same way again. Stay with me. Before I give you the Hebrew name for what you are living through, I need to remind you of something. The instrument that Solomon left behind, the one I mentioned at the beginning, does not replace the name you are about to receive. It helps you sustain the name in the common, ordinary day after the name is given. This is why the order matters. First, the name. Then the tool. Stay. Close your eyes. Just for a moment. Wherever you are, I want you to take one slow, deep breath. Now place your right hand over your chest. Feel the rhythm of your own heart. That is the tempo of a man standing on the very edge of a sacred revelation. This moment was scheduled for you before the foundation of the world. There is a word in the original Hebrew for the season you are in. Most have never heard it. The word is pronounced tabuna. In most Bibles it is translated simply as understanding or intelligence. But that is like calling a diamond a piece of carbon. It's technically true, but it misses the fire, the pressure, the cutting edge. It is not the wisdom you learn from a book, the kind you collect like information. That has another name entirely. Tebunah is different. It is active, applied wisdom. It is the wisdom of the architect who sees the finished building in a vacant lot. It is the discernment of the general who sees the enemy's strategy in the dust kicked up by a single scout. It is the divine skill of connecting the dots that seem random to everyone else, of applying a heavenly principle to the specific, messy, urgent problem sitting on your desk right now. It is the very wisdom Solomon asked for in the night, when God gave him a blank check. The book of Proverbs commands us to incline your heart to Tebunah. It's an action, a posture of leaning in. Your exhaustion, the weariness that sleep cannot cure, has not been from a lack of faith. It has been the deep, spiritual exhaustion of a man trying to build without the blueprint. You have been trying to assemble a kingdom-sized assignment with your bare hands and a dim light, because no one ever handed you the divine schematics. Your fatigue finally has a name, and its name is not failure. It's construction without a compass. This period of your life, this pressure, this silence, this feeling of being tested in the dark, it now has a name. It is your season of Tebunah. It is the sacred interval God has carved out of your timeline to teach you not just what He knows, but how He builds. The hard, frozen ground you've been trying to break through was not a sign of His absence. It was the soil of your soul being tilled, making it ready to receive a seed that doesn't just grow, but governs. A seed of divine strategy. This one word, Tebunah, is the key that opens the sealed file on this chapter of your life. For months, maybe years, you've been staring at a folder with your name on it, but the contents were marked classified. Today, God is declassifying the file. He is showing you the name of the operation. You are not just being tested for your endurance. You were being trained for executive-level discernment. You were being qualified for the blueprint. Now that you know the name of what you carry, I must show you that someone carried this before you. A man stood exactly where you stand now, overwhelmed by the legacy behind him and the mission before him. And what happened in a single night changed everything. His story is about to become your inheritance. Stay with me. A man stood exactly where you stand now. His name was Solomon. He had just inherited a kingdom from his father, David, a giant of faith, a warrior king whose shadow was long enough to cover a nation. Solomon was young, the kingdom was vast. His enemies were watching from every border, waiting for him to fail. The weight of the crown was heavier than gold. It was the weight of a legacy he felt unqualified to carry. Does that sound familiar? He felt the same pressure you feel, the same gap between the calling on his life and the capacity in his hands. He was surrounded by the noise of 1,000 advisors, 1,000,000 citizens, and the constant threat of war. And in the middle of that overwhelming noise, God came to him in the night, at a place called Gibeon, and he gave Solomon a blank check. Ask what I shall give you. Think about that. A blank check from the creator of the universe. Solomon could have asked for the heads of his enemies. He could have asked for riches that would make nations tremble. He could have asked for a long life, free from trouble. But he didn't. He asked for the one thing that could produce all the others. He asked for an instrument. He said, "Give your servant, therefore, a listening heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil." He asked for tebunah. He asked for the blueprint, not the finished building. He asked for the compass, not the destination. He understood a principle that is being reawakened in you today, that with the right divine instrument, you can build any result God has ordained for you. Asking God for a tool of practical wisdom is not a lack of faith. It is the highest form of it. Solomon was tuning his heart to the very frequency that heaven operates on, the frequency you are being called to right now. This is why your season of silence has been so profound. It was God clearing out the static, preparing the receiver in your soul for a new transmission. And with that new transmission comes a new identity. So receive this now, not as a poetic idea, but as a divine decree. Today, God gives you a new name. Your first name is Guardian of the Silence. This is your name for the waiting period. You are no longer the man who reacts to the noise of the world, but the one who guards the inner quiet, where God's instructions are heard. Your authority will no longer come from shouting back at the chaos, but from the deep, unshakable confidence of one who has already consulted the king and is simply waiting for the command to move. And because you are a guardian, you are also sent to build. One name is for your posture. The second is for your mission. There is no one without the other. Your second name is Builder of Bridges. Your prayers have already built a bridge of mercy that saved a life you do not know. Now God commissions you to be a builder within your own borders. You are sent to build a bridge between your heart and your wife's, so she feels your presence, not your pressure. You are sent to build a bridge of counsel between you and your children, so they see you not as a preoccupied giant, but as a wise father. You are sent to build a bridge between today's impossible decision and tomorrow's breakthrough. You are a guardian of the silence. You are a builder of bridges. Say them to yourself. Feel the weight of them. These are not titles you earn. They are commissions you receive. They are the frequency you will now operate on. But there is something the enemy does not want you to know about these two names. He has a strategy designed specifically to disqualify you from walking in this new identity. And when you learn his tactic, he loses the primary weapon he has been using against you for years. We are going there next. Stay with me. Now that you have your names, you receive the enemy's battle plan. You have not been losing the war. You have been fighting without the enemy's map. You mistook his predictable tactics for your personal failures. No more. The Solomon Wisdom Code is the practical map for your day. What you are about to receive is the spiritual map for your fight. These are the two primary strategies he has been using to keep you exhausted and defeated. His first tactic is erosion by comparison. He opens a file on your desk every morning filled with the highlight reels of other men. He shows you their promotions, their breakthroughs, their seemingly perfect families. He wants you to measure your silent, grinding progress against their public victories. He does this to create an anxiety that makes you rush, to make you abandon the unique, patient strategy God has designed for you, and to tempt you into running someone else's race. A race you were never equipped to win, because it is not yours. Your weapon against this is the decree of the unique path. This is not an attitude, it is a spoken declaration. When the feeling of being behind comes, you open your mouth and you declare, "My path is not measured by another man's mile markers. I operate on God's timeline, with God's map for God's glory." You speak the names he gave you: guardian of the silence, builder of bridges. This act of speaking what God said, not what you feel, recalibrates your spirit. It is the weapon that makes the enemy's comparisons fall to the ground, useless. If you are committing to fight with this new intelligence, I want you to make a spiritual declaration right now. There is a button below this video that says subscribe. I want you to click it, not as a fan of a channel, but as a soldier telling his commander, I am subscribing to this new posture. I am positioned to receive every future strategy you send. Do it now. It is an act of spiritual alignment. The enemy's second tactic is eve of battle exhaustion. He knows he cannot win a fair fight, so he works to make you forfeit the day before the battle even begins. He attacks your mind at night, flooding it with worries, replaying failures, and magnifying problems. He wants you to wake up so spiritually and emotionally depleted that you have no strength to resist the old patterns of behavior. He aims to make you quit just 24 hours before your breakthrough, to convince you that your persistence is pointless when you are one step from the promised land. Your weapon against this is the resistance of the last second. This is not about feeling strong. It is about standing when you feel weak. It is the raw, stubborn refusal to give up when everything in you screams for surrender. This is where the instruments you receive become your armor. You use the ritual of the just man's sleep to hand the night's battle over to God, and you use the awakening of clarity to put on your divine identity before your feet hit the floor. You don't have to feel like a warrior. You just have to stay on your feet one more round. Now you know how he fights you, and now you know how to fight back. You have the map, you have the weapons, but knowledge alone does not win a war. There is a prayer of commissioning that must be prayed, not by me for you, but by you over yourself, and I will lead you in it. We are going to the throne room now. Close your eyes, right where you are. Place both of your hands over your heart. Feel its beat. That is the rhythm of a man on holy ground. Take one slow, deep breath in, and as you release it, release the need to be strong for just this one moment. Let us pray. Father, I come before you not as a warrior, but as a son who is tired. I confess the exhaustion that sleep does not touch. I confess the weariness of a spirit that has stood watch for too long. I lay down the weight of the decisions I have made in haste and the burden of the patterns I have been unable to break. I confess the silence in my own home, the distance I have created, the weight I have unloaded on the people I was called to protect. I have tried to build without the blueprint. I have tried to fight without the map. But tonight, I stop. I will not run from this silence anymore. I will stand my ground, right here. I receive the names you have given me. I am a guardian of the silence. I am a builder of bridges. I open my heart now, not to the noise of my own fear, but to the sound of your voice. Speak, Lord. Your servant is listening, and a voice, quieter than a whisper but heavier than thunder, speaks into the chambers of your heart. My son, I saw you. I saw you on the nights you laid your head on the pillow, and the ache in your soul arrived before the first worry. I saw you staring at the ceiling, pleading for a rest that would not come, while your spirit stood guard over a life you thought you had to protect on your own. That watch is over. The guard has been changed. I saw you at the crossroads of impossible decisions, with the clock ticking, when clarity did not arrive in time. I saw you move in desperation, and I saw you wake up the next morning with the familiar bitter taste of a mistake you knew you were making, yet felt powerless to avoid. That cycle of repetition was not your condemnation. It was the training ground for the discernment I'm giving you now. And I saw you walk through your front door, carrying the war of the world into the one place I gave you for peace. I saw the look in your wife's eyes as she learned not to ask. I saw the hesitation in your child's approach. I felt the ache in your heart as you watched them learn to navigate around your pain. That pain was a signal, and I heard it. Do you remember the moment when I was undeniably real to you? That place, that altar in your memory, it still stands. I have not forgotten it. You are the one who learned to doubt it. Therefore, receive this commissioning not as a feeling but as a fact sealed in heaven. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Do not say amen yet. Stay here. In this moment, feel the seal being pressed upon your spirit. The winter is over. The seed that was planted in hard, frozen ground, the one you thought was dead and forgotten, has just broken through the soil. The life that was hidden is now visible. Now you may say amen. What was sealed here now will be tested on the first Monday morning. When the alarm clock rings, when the routine returns, when the voice of the old cycle tries to rewrite what happened here today as a fleeting emotion from a Sunday night. The enemy does not surrender without a fight what was just decreed over you. And the one who is commissioned without an instrument walks onto the battlefield without what Solomon left, recorded for this exact moment. The exception has been opened in heaven. Now it must survive the common day. The Solomon Wisdom Code is in the first pinned comment right below, not as a substitute for what you have received in this message, as a companion to defend what was sealed, because a decree without an instrument rots on the first Monday morning, and the adversary is counting on Monday, less than a Sunday morning coffee, less than a Saturday lunch combo, with a 7-day guarantee and 2 bonus instruments that you keep even if it doesn't serve you. The risk is ours, the hand is yours. Click now while the decree is still alive in your chest. Not tomorrow, not after a shower, not after you talk to someone. Because he who leaves it for later leaves it for never, and the adversary counts on later. He has counted on later with every other message you received and postponed. He is counting on later right now, too. This will not be another one. And now, the final word. There is someone in your circle carrying exactly what you carried until today. Someone who will go home tonight and unload the same weight. Someone who will lay his head on the pillow with the same soul on high alert. That person will not stop scrolling on their own. They need someone to send this. That someone is you. This is not sharing a video. It is intercession. Now close your eyes, breathe 3 times, and remain in silence until the video ends. What was done here needs to land. Do not scroll. Do not leave. Stay.